So I feel like this has been something like, this is something that's going to be good for like new leaders, existing leaders, just like for everyone. It's something that like I feel like um, I've been like observing a lot on all ends lately. So I'm excited when I was like talking to Sarah and trying to figure out like what we were going to talk about for Zoom tonight. Um, I brought up this idea and she was like, yeah, I totally like think that's something that we should hit on. Especially because I feel like people get, what did you call it? The Ruby syndrome. People get stuck in like Ruby syndrome. So anyways, we're going to hop right into it. But basically our goal tonight is to just like come up with some strategies to give you guys on how to lead your teams more effectively as far as like new people, people who have been doing it for a while, people that are pushing for Ruby, maybe, just all the things. So
wait, let me say something really quick before you jump into it. So
I'm gonna pull up my notes.
I just lost. Oh, okay. So even if you like, I know some of you guys maybe have like one person working on your teams right now, or you don't have anyone that's working on your team right now because they've quit. So whatever situation that you're in, the tips that we're giving you tonight are things that you can apply going forward as you're building your team, as you're enrolling new distributors. And if you have a big team under you right now, these are things you can start applying right away. So like, I don't want you guys to think like, well, this might not be relevant to me because I don't have a ton of people working right now. It's still going to be super relevant to you. So take notes. And I'm telling you, like, the things that we're going to be talking about, if you start applying them with not only the distributors you have now, but the distributors you're going to enroll over the next few days or weeks or months, it's going to see a huge change, or you're going to see a huge change in your business. So definitely like still pay attention and tune in, even if you don't have a huge working team right now.
Yeah, definitely. So I know like some of this stuff also is just like things that I feel like have been coming up with the leadership book study that we've been doing, just like figuring out ways to implement different stuff and stuff. So like one of the first things we want to talk about is like when it comes to a business like this, you're dealing with so many different types, like different people that have different lifestyles. Like everyone is very unique. So your approach to training people, it's not like a one size fits all type thing. As a leader, you need to adapt to what that specific person needs from you. So things that you want to find out about people off the bat, like obviously, like one of the big things when people join, we ask them like, like, why did you join? You know what I mean? And I can tell you a lot off the bat. Like, are they joining because they're like, I need to make money for this, this, and this? Are they talking about the products when they're saying why they joined? Maybe they're like more into like trying to help people. You want to like figure this stuff out. Like, are they motivated by money? Are they motivated by helping people? Are they motivated by, having fun? Like, are they looking for the relationship aspect? And you have to figure out exactly what kind of gets their gears grinding so that you can help them better. Because someone who's like super yellow and is motivated by, like wants to help people and wants to, be there and like be the friend and have that, they're not going to be motivated by money. So if you start talking to them about fast start bonuses and about that stuff is not going to be motivating to them. Like, where if you're dealing with someone that has a very red personality that's very driven by money, you can be like, get these first 4 customers, then you can start enrolling team members and earning $100 fast start bonuses. Like, that's going to get them motivated. So it's really like your job to figure out the learning style of your distributors and what is going to motivate them to want to work their business. You want to jump in, Sarah? You look like you want to say something.
Yeah. So I personally prefer to train my new distributors over text message because it's easy for me, but something that I have to literally remind myself of every single time I enroll a new distributor, it's not about what I prefer. Just because I prefer to train somebody over text message does not mean that they're going to like learn effectively or like to be trained over text message. So like for the people who do like to be trained over text message, that's awesome. But there's some people when they enroll and they start asking me a lot of questions, or they say like, hey, can you hop on the phone and explain this to me in more detail? It's the last thing I want to do. I'm not going to lie, but I do it because I know it's effective for them and it's what they're needing. So if you have like kind of a system for how you train people, that's awesome. I have a system that I use to train people. You have to be willing to kind of tweak that for each person to meet them kind of like where they're at and do what's going to work best for them. So, I mean, training over text message, sending YouTube videos, getting on the phone with them, getting on Zoom with them. There's tons of different options that you can try until you kind of figure out what works for someone. Like if I'm training someone in a text message and I can tell that like they're really not getting it, or like there's a disconnect, like the next step that I'm going to do is get them on the phone or get them on a Zoom and talk to them one-on-one and maybe go over some stuff in more detail, or like maybe send them a training video of another leader explaining like how to go Ruby or something, like if I'm just not connecting with them. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? So you can't just do what's easy for you. And that was something that was like really hard for me to wrap my mind around. Like I felt like because it worked for me in my schedule, I should be able to train everyone over text message, like boom, that's the end of it. And that doesn't work. Like a couple people maybe, but not for everyone. So just kind of something to be aware of and think about.
Yeah, and definitely piggybacking off of that, I mean, I've signed up people that are like local to me. And one thing that I used to do a lot, and not so much since I had Nash, but if like someone was local to me and they were a PDT and we were having a conversation, I would offer to go meet them at Starbucks and go over stuff with them. And like, honestly, like that's the last thing that I want to do. Like for real, the last thing I want to do is get dressed and put on makeup and look like a human being and go to Starbucks and talk to some stranger and show them all this stuff. Because for me, like that's awkward. But every single person that I've ever sat down with face to face and went over the business has always signed up. So that's one thing. And then also like if someone's local to you and they're not getting it, offer to meet up with them somewhere. Sometimes just sitting down and talking face to face with somebody is like that connection that they need to be more invested in what's going on and like really grasp concepts. And I've done that before too. I used to host like work Wednesdays at my house, and we would have whoever from we would literally open up our house to anyone on our team that wanted to come over. Newbies, you know, people who've been around forever, like literally whoever wanted to come over, and they would just come over and we would like work our business. They could ask questions, you know, and it's really just like Sarah said, it's really important. Like just because what's convenient for you, like you have to take other people into consideration and what works for them. So Sarah, do you want to just kind of, I know we want to try to keep this to like 30 minutes. So do you want to jump into the next bullet point?
Yeah. So something else that's really important with anyone on your team is creating the vision for them from the beginning. So like when you sign a new distributor, you want to help them see the vision of what this business can do for them and the earning potential they have from this business. So if somebody signs up and all you've ever talked to them about as they get started is signing 4 customers and a $100 shopping spree, that's where their vision is going to end. They're not going to see past that 4 customer $100 shopping spree. So it's super important from like the very, very beginning to talk to your new distributors about what this business can do for them. So the biggest way that I do that is I send my new distributors, after I ask them about them, like how Asia just said, like I'll ask them like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Why'd you get started? After they respond to that, then I send them a picture of the average income chart and ask them like, what would be your ultimate goal from this business? If you can make any amount on this chart, what would it be? And they tell me a number, and it's like very surprising to me. Like I was the person who looked at that chart and said like 32,000 a month. Like as soon as I saw that chart, I got the vision and I was like, all right, I'm going to go until I hit that. Not everyone's like that. A lot of people tell me like $200 a month, $500 a month. And that's like a very short vision or like a short-term vision. So I kind of try to get them to like dream beyond that. So just because they say 200 or 500 a month doesn't mean we can't dream beyond that. So then I'll say something like, okay, that's awesome. Like that's such a good start. What about $2,000 a month? What would that do for you and your family? Or $5,000 a month, and get them dreaming. and catching that vision. Not everyone's going to have that vision off the bat. And if you can help your new distributors to get that vision, it's one of the big things that's going to get them beyond just signing 4 customers. It's going to be the thing that keeps them going when they start to get frustrated. Like when they haven't signed up a couple customers in their first 2 weeks and they're starting to get down on themselves, you can kind of get back to that vision with them and think about like, okay, but we're pushing toward that $2,000 a month. Like, let's go for that kind of a thing. Does that make sense to you guys? If you're not creating that vision for them, they have no way of creating it themselves. Asia, one of the first things she did when I started was send me the average income chart. And I remember her asking like, okay, you said you want to quit your job. What number on this chart would you need to be to quit your job? Like, what number would you ultimately want to make? Because when I signed up, like, I didn't know that $32,000 a month was possible. Like, once I saw that, I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. And I knew from the very, very beginning that double was like my first goal that I needed to hit to match my more than like match my full-time income. So I had the vision and the goal, and I wouldn't have if Asia hadn't sent me that chart. So if you guys don't use that chart with your new distributors, I definitely recommend doing that or doing something that gets them to see the vision of this business.
Yeah, and just kind of piggybacking off of what Sarah said, because honestly, when we were putting together these notes, like, this is why I love like working with other people, because sometimes someone says something and it gets you thinking and you're like, oh yeah, like I totally didn't think about that, you know? Because like that's just not the way that my brain works. So like just reading this, like exactly what Sarah just said. When I first joined personally, there was $120 shop, like it wasn't called a shopping spree, but it was called a product reward at the time or something like that. Or product credit or something. And my enroller didn't even talk to me about that. When she started talking to me, she immediately talked about going Ruby and earning $1,000 bonus in my first 2 months. So that was my short-term goal. As soon as I joined, I wasn't even thinking about getting 4 customers and getting like this, you know, shopping spree or whatever. Like, obviously I knew that was an incentive and I was going to get that. But my goal was earning that $1,000 bonus, because that's what she put in front of me. She was like, listen, like, girl, like you can do this. Like, I'm about to go earn and I knew her personally, but I hadn't talked to her in probably like 15 years. She was like, girl, like, I'm about to earn this $1,000 bonus. I'm gonna be making an extra $500 a month. Like there's people in this company that are making like 20 grand a month. Like you should just join. And I was like, dude, $1,000 bonus, $500 a month. Like, okay, let's go. Like, and that was my goal. Like that was what I had my eyes set on from the day that I signed up, like earning that $1,000 bonus. Like I was going to do whatever I had to do to go Ruby in my first 2 calendar months and earn that bonus. And I did. And at the time, there was like the good bonuses. There was a $10,000 bonus for going diamond. And had she led with that, I probably would have went for diamond right off of the bat. And I think that's why this year they did those bonuses where like when you sign up, if you go diamond in your first 4 calendar months, you're going to earn a bonus. Like there's, you know, they had like the $1,000 Ruby guarantee and the $3,000 Emerald guarantee. Because putting those goals in front of someone and saying, okay, here's a roadmap we have a roadmap that's going to get you to bringing in this income and earning this bonus in this amount of time. Like that is a goal to put in front of somebody and a vision to put on them. And I hadn't thought about it like that until Sarah had said that. And then when she just started talking about it again, it was like a light bulb moment. Like, yeah, like that's so true. Like had my enroller come to me and been like, okay, like, we're going to earn a shopping spree, like get your first 4 customers, and then like not had led with like going Ruby and putting that Ruby chart in front of me. Like I knew that I wanted to get my first 4 customers because I needed to do that. But I also knew like I had a Ruby chart in front of me at day 1. Like you got to fill this out. You got to go Ruby to earn this bonus. Like this is what you're doing. And it was just like, I just had such a light bulb moment when Sarah just said that. So, yeah. Anyways.
This is making me think that I need to tweak like a little bit of how I train my new DTs.
I know, instead of just leading with that. I mean, obviously like that's the first goal, but it's so true. So one thing that, I mean, I'm seeing it now, but I've seen it through I mean, I've been doing this business for 4.5 years. I've seen this a lot, but as a leader, guys, you cannot be afraid to be the captain of your ship. Like, your business is like your boat, and you need to steer it where it's going. You can't be afraid to step into that leadership role and be a leader to your girls. I know sometimes it's like awkward, and it can feel like you're being pushy or insensitive. But like, at the end of the day, these people joined a business with you because they want to make money. So if you're not pushing them and telling them what they need to be doing, giving them ideas, giving them tasks, coming up with solutions for them if what they're doing isn't working, tweaking things. Like, if you're not doing all those things on a daily basis, you are doing a disservice to them and to you, because they spent their money and invested it with you because they trusted that you were going to teach them how to be successful with this. So it's really important to not be afraid to just lead your team, in checking in with your newbies and messaging them, being like, hey, how's it going? Like, that's not an effective way to be leading them. It's like, hey, did you get out any messages today? No? Okay, here's this message. Go send this out. Did you send out the messages yesterday? Okay, were you getting responses? If they say no, okay, maybe you need to tweak the message that they're sending out. If they say yes and they're not sending you screenshots, you need to figure out why they're not sending you screenshots. If they're doing all the things and they're not enrolling, then there's a disconnect somewhere. So 9 times out of 10, it's in their confidence, and it's in them not having like that belief. Like, if they're having solid conversations and you're helping walk them through them, and it's just getting to that point where they're not sealing the deal, it's a mindset block. And you have to help them work through that, because what happens is when people don't believe in themselves, they either don't believe in themselves or they don't believe in the products because they haven't seen their own results with them yet. And then a few weeks goes by, maybe a month, they haven't enrolled anybody yet. They get discouraged, and that's when they go MIA. Like, you lost them at that point. And I see it happen all the time. And yes, you're going to sign up people that just aren't going to do the things, right? You can't do anything about that. You can bring the horse to water. You can't make them drink. But it's your job every day to give them the tools. Like, I have this one girl, I'm still reaching out to her, not every single day, but I'm still reaching out to her like, hey girl, like, I'm here, I'm ready to do this with you. Like, are you ready to start working? Like, you signed up, you spent your money. Like, do you want to make some money? Like, what are you doing? And I'm still checking in and letting her know, like, hey, like, I'm here. I'm not messaging her every single day, but I'm still checking in with her like once a week at this point and being like, hey girl, remember me? Remember you wanted to like make a bunch of money and quit your full-time job? I'm over here. Like, let's go work. And I can't make her answer me, but I'm going to let her know, like, I'm still here for you. So anyways, I just got started. Corey just texted me, and I'm like, why is Corey texting me? It's so sidetracked. She sent me the church.
Oh.
But so it's important, and some of you guys are really stepping up and doing these things, and some of you don't know that you should be doing these things, and it's okay. This is why we're doing this Zoom, but checking in with your team with a purpose of giving them a roadmap to what they need to do, giving them messages, making sure they're in the stories and post idea thread, reminding them, hey, did you get up a post today? Like, let's get some stories up, go grab some out of this thing. How many how are your followers growing? What's going on with that? Asking them open-ended questions about income producing activities that they can say, yes, I'm doing that, or no, I'm not. And then you can figure out why they're not doing it. It's really, really important that you're like, this is where we're going. So it's like, if someone has gotten their first 4 customers, like, perfect, put a Ruby chart in front of them. Like, they earned their shopping spree. I don't care if they earned their shopping spree their first day. Boom, put a Ruby chart in front of them. Like, they're ready to go. They're ready to work. They're here. They're showing up, ready to go. So, Sarah, do you want to get into this next?
Yeah, so couple things. We're not saying that you can't message your team and ask them how their day's going and things like that. Like most of my check-ins start with like, hey, happy Sunday. Like, what are you up to today? Totally fine. But that can't be where the conversation ends. And I think that's like the disconnect we sometimes have as leaders. Like if I reach out to Mackenzie and I'm like, hey, Mackenzie, how are you doing today? And she's like, good. All right, Mackenzie's good, move on to the next thing. Like, that's not okay. That should just be the opener for me to be like, okay, awesome. Like, how are you doing on your task list for today? And shout out to everyone who's a part of like that push chat and encouraging your team to get in that push chat. I'm finding that to be a really good tool, especially for my newer distributors, because I'm getting more specific questions from them. Like, they're asking me like, hey, I need help with growing my followers to be able to get this done, or like, how, like, I need help with, I don't even know, like a specific thing on that task list, because we're giving them step by step what they need to do every single day. So that's been a really good tool for me when I'm working with my team to say like, where are you at on your task list for today? Did you get added to the push chat? Okay, where are you at in that? What are you struggling with? And then they can pinpoint like the specific things that they're struggling with, or I can ask them, what didn't you complete yesterday if they didn't complete everything? And then they can tell me those 3 things that they didn't do, or 4 things. And then we can talk about like, okay, you didn't do, I don't know, you didn't message 100 people, and we can kind of figure out what's going on there. So that's been a really good tool for me right now. But there's something else that I was going to say about that.
Solutions, problem solving.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like a lot of being a leader in this business is problem solving and helping your distributors problem solve. I'm going to give you guys an example. So I was just talking to a leader on my team today, and we're talking about this box on her chart that she needs at 400. And she's like, this girl's not enrolling customers. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, all right, well, let's talk to her about what's going on. So we asked the girl how many people she's messaging a day, and she told us she's messaging 100 people a day. On this Zoom. Okay. And then we went and looked at her followers, and she only has like 200 followers. So we're like, okay, here's definitely a disconnect here. If she only has 200 Instagram followers and she doesn't work Facebook, how is she messaging 100 people a day? So we talked to her more about what was going on, and it turns out she's messaging people that don't follow her back, which is really hard to get responses if you're doing it that way, because your message gets put into a filtered folder. So we had to talk to this girl about like, all right, here's your game plan. Here's how we're going to get it up to messaging the 100 people a day, etc. So does that kind of make sense to you guys? Like, she wasn't getting any customers because she didn't have the people to message. Like, she wasn't able to effectively message. If somebody on your team is struggling, if they say like, I'm not signing customers, or you might know like they've been working for 2 months and they haven't signed a customer, there's something going on. And I always start with, how many messages are you sending a day? And they give me a number. And then I go look at their followers. If they tell me they're messaging 100 people a day and they only have 100 followers, disconnect right there. If they do have like a lot of followers and I can kind of assume they are messaging that many people a day, I need to figure out what's going on. How are their conversations? Maybe they're not screenshotting me at all. Then I know like they're probably not having the right conversations, and we can figure out what the issue is and fix it. And like how Asia was saying, it could just be a mindset thing too. Like there's lots of different things that could be going wrong, and your team probably doesn't know that. They just know that they feel like they're putting in the work and they're not seeing results. They don't know what they could be doing wrong. It's up to you to help them through that. And not getting customers is just an example. Even with like posting, like I'll try to go through and look at my team's posting and see kind of how they're posting, how often they're posting. And I probably need to do this more consistently than I do. And then I can just talk to people about like, hey, I love how often you're posting, but let's tweak it and post more about this. Or like, you have really great posts, but you're only posting once a week. Can we up that kind of a thing? Because if you're not taking those steps to talk to your team about things that they could be tweaking on, they're never going to figure them out, or it's going to take them a really long time to figure it out. Does that make sense? So problem solve. That's
yeah. Like, so one thing that I did today, like, there's a couple girls, and one of them's like coming up on the point that like she's like not going to earn her shopping spree. Like, she only has a few days left. So she's doing the things, but she's like got some life going on, and I know she's not like feeling her best self from what she said. So like, I just asked her, I was like, are you familiar at all with like the law of attraction or like manifesting or anything? And she was like, no, I've never heard of it. So I sent her The Secret. I sent her like how to watch it on Netflix if she has Netflix, and I sent her the link on YouTube if she wants it on YouTube. And I was like, this is kind of weird, but like, just like watch this and try to just like kind of take in what they're saying, because I think that was a huge mind shift for me when I was stuck for so long. And I read a really good book about the law of attraction. I think some of you guys have probably watched it or read it. It's called Just Ask the Universe. And that really, like, I read that book and I went diamond right afterwards. Like, it was a huge mindset shift for me of just like the things that I'm saying. So like, I could be sitting here and saying like, yeah, I'm super positive. Then I could be like, but I'm being really positive about things, but also like, I messaged 150 people today, and like the 2 people that were going to order are ghosting me. Like, then that's not me being positive. That's like me saying I'm being positive, but then speaking negativity out loud, and like that defeats the purpose. So, anyways, the last thing that we want to just go over real quick. Okay, so a lot of you guys are enrolling people and they're earning their shopping spree, and then it's kind of just like getting to a standstill point. So if you have not already showed your distributors a Ruby chart, which like Sarah just said, now that like we're like having these conversations, like I might even start introducing like a Ruby chart sooner on in our conversation before they like get to that point where they get their customers. But if you have someone on your team who has enrolled their first 4 customers, I literally want you to, as soon as they sign that 4th customer, you need to get a Ruby chart in front of them and explain it to them. I would say to get on Zoom or like a FaceTime with them, because it's really hard to explain charting through texting. It's confusing. Some people's brains just do not get the concept of charting. I know people that have been in this business that are, triple diamond, presidential diamond, that like still get like caught up with charting, and they like go that someone helps them with their charts, because it's just not everybody's brain works that way. So explaining it like face to face on a FaceTime or a Zoom is going to be like the best way to do that.
And even if you introduce the Ruby chart to them when they first sign up, so they know that's their long-term goal, like once they're done signing their first 4 customers, they need to have their next concrete goal. So like, you can still show it to them earlier in the conversation. Then they work on signing their first 4 customers. In the back of their mind, as soon as they sign that 4th customer, they need to know what they're working on next. And I feel like this is a tricky part for a lot of new distributors. They know they have to sign 4 customers. They sign 4 customers. And then as leaders, we're kind of like, okay, go work your business, do everything. And they have no direction, no goals. And most people are very goal oriented. So if you say like, okay, now we're going to work on getting 3 people on your team, that's our primary focus, you can like focus on that with them, and they can work on doing that. And then you can keep going and keep going and keep going. If you don't have like a specific thing that they're working toward, they don't know why they're messaging people every day. They don't know why they're posting. Like, what is the end game? They have no idea. So they have to have that in front of them. You never, like, I feel like I could go to any distributor on my team right now and say, what are you working on? What's your goal right now? And they would tell me either they're working on their first 4 customers, or they would know what chart they're working on and how many people they need. And if they don't know, then I'm fucking up. And there might be a couple that are kind of falling through the cracks. But I'm going to like test this theory when we get off this and see, like, does everyone on my team know what they're currently focusing on? And if not, then I need to have a conversation with them to make sure that like I've explained their goal and they know what they're pushing for.
Yeah. And then also like this ties back into like in the beginning, figuring out what motivates them. So like when you're showing them this chart, like explain to them what those 3 distributors mean for their business. If there's someone who's motivated by money, tell them like you're going to earn $300 signing these 3 distributors when you help them get their first 2 customers. Tell them, they're going to start making bigger checks because they're going to be earning commission off of those customers. If there's someone who's motivated by, helping people and like spreading love and positivity, and like that's what motivates them. and that's what makes them feel good, then like talk to them about how they are, you know, going to be able to like share this opportunity with other people who are in need of making an extra $500 a month, who are in need of the products that, you know, to help, you know, them feel better and look better and like whatever. And you know, that they're going to be able to just reach more people through helping these people. You know, I think it's like a big misconception that like, it's a big misconception that like people think that like you can't be, you know, like yellow or blue and make it really far in this company. Because there are a lot of very yellow ambassadors in this company, and like you just need to figure out what your strengths are, and you need to figure out what the strengths are of the people who are on your team and work with those strengths and help them develop their weaknesses into strengths, because that's just skill stuff. So just to like recap everything, definitely I don't know where my notes are anymore, but just being very, and I don't want you guys to think like that you need to spend 1,000,000 hours a day working with your team. You need to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Sarah, help me out here. Intentional. You need to be intentional with the time and the conversations that you're having with people so that they're getting the most out of it and you're giving them the most out of it. You know what I mean? So that's all that I got.
Do you guys have questions? We're trying to like be very respectful of everyone's time and limit our Zooms to make them like get all the information in a short time, because we know you guys have other things that you need to be doing, and we appreciate you taking the time to get on. So we're going to try to like get them down to 30 minutes. Asia and I both talk a lot, so we did pretty good tonight. But do you guys have any questions that you want to ask or anything else you want us to touch on before we get off? I think you should all be able to unmute yourselves if you want to ask a question. If not, we'll probably end this Zoom and start our book club Zoom in just a second for anyone who's doing the book with us.
I think I'm just